Good afternoon. Welcome to PV Talks, where a community comes to converse, connect, and grow together. I'm your host, Steve Bracety, President and CEO for the Prescott Valley Chamber of Commerce. And with me in the studio today is Mr. Larry Jacobs. And we're going to talk about my experience and mostly Larry's experience on the KC-135 refueling tanker aircraft. Larry, welcome.
Well, thank you very much, Steve. It's a great opportunity to be able to inform some of the public out there about some of the things that we're doing in employer support for the Guard and Reserve.
Now, I got to spend an incredible afternoon with the 161st Air National Guard down in Phoenix. And first of all, for those who served, thank you for serving and protecting our country. The people I met there were extremely professional, extremely friendly too. And I got to ride in a KC-135 and watch up close a fighter jet refuel. And I got to tell you, that was an amazing experience.
Yeah, one of the things we've been doing now, Steve, probably for the last 10 years, is we were doing 2 a year. And we extend this opportunity to employers out there that support our National Guard and Reserve component members. And as you are probably very much aware, up here in Prescott, it's very easy because we have a very supportive military community. Not only that, we have probably one of the biggest educational institutions with Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University that has the largest ROTC unit west of the Mississippi. So we have a lot of support up here, and we like to extend this opportunity to people to see something that they normally would never have the opportunity to see.
Yeah, absolutely true. And we have a lot of props on our table today. And I didn't take these pictures, mind you, but this is what I got to see up close and personal. So Larry, you want to talk about what's on our table?
Well, we've got a couple things on the table, and I'll lift some of these up. First of all, for the viewers, this is the aircraft that we went on. It is a KC-135R model, and I was in this unit from 1977 through 1998. And during that time, we've gone through 3 different re-engines. This aircraft has been rebuilt from top to bottom, and these first came out in 1955, and they're still flying today because they've been so well maintained. But this is a KC-135R model, and this has CFM 56 engines, which are your big turbo fans. It carries over 200,000 pounds of fuel that they can use to refuel other aircraft. So this is what Steve, along with about 23 other members of the community, had an opportunity to go up and see and actually be involved in a mission where they actually went out and in-flight refuel up around Lake Havasu F-35 aircraft from the 944th Reserve unit down at Luke Air Force Base.
How many aircraft can that refuel at any given time?
Probably that one, if it's jet fighters, it can probably refuel 7. 7 with filling them up. See, they're only going to take about 5,000 pounds, really, the refuel on those. But they can't do anything if they're not continually refueled. This is an actual picture of an F-35 that they were involved in the refueling mission. So you can see how close it gets up to the boom operator, where the boom is extended and connected actually to the aircraft.
You know, it's interesting. I can speak to that because I'm laying down in the back and it's a cloudy day, and all of a sudden it's like, bam, this jet appears out of nowhere. And I was like, he's getting pretty close.
Yeah, unfortunately, the day you went on, we had a large overcast. Normally, that's clear. You can see the ground. You can see everything. But the day that you flew on, there was a heavy overcast. So, yeah, you didn't have the opportunity to see some of the other things that you normally would have seen. And this is the rear. We had 4 F-35s actually go out and fly a formation, so you could see what they look like from the boom operator's perspective at the back of the aircraft. And like Steve had mentioned, we have 2 separate areas on each side of the boom that the individuals could actually go up there, take videos, take photographs, whatever they'd like to do, and actually see it up close.
Just do not distract the operator, for sure.
That's correct. It is, you got to remember these guys are flying around at almost 500 miles an hour. So one little mishap, could very easily happen. If,
I was impressed with the precision of it. I mean, you got to really line up correctly to get the fuel into the plane.
And you know what's even more, well, I should say this in a way. What's even more amazing is the individuals that were on that flight. That's the pilot, the co-pilot, and the boom operator, are all what we call traditional guardsmen. That means they have a job in the real world, just like you and I.
Right.
These are individuals that do not do this on a full-time basis, but because they have to keep their certifications, they have to fly 4 times a month. So they have to do a little bit more than the normal guardsmen with 1 weekend a month, but they have to fly 4 times a month in order to maintain their certifications. But every member on that crew was a traditional guardsman, so they have a regular job.
You know, they're teachers, they're community leaders in our towns, they're firemen, policemen, and then they pivot to do this, and it's a huge pivot, actually.
Yeah, I think the boom operator in that particular flight, who I'm aware of very much, he worked for USAA insurance company.
Yeah.
The pilot is a business owner who owns a aviation business over at Gateway with his brother, and he also is one of our legislators down at the legislature,
That's right.
Travis Grantham.
He keeps pretty busy.
Yeah, he stays very busy. He's also a rancher, so he's got horses and he does it all.
Mm-hmm.
And these are the kind of, we attract the best of the best that come into the Air National Guard. That's why they're looked upon in very high regard, even more so, I hate to say this, than our active duty military folks.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So, and we have this huge picture right here on the table.
Yeah, I brought that because that's something, I took that back before we had cell phones and before we had all those back in 1980, before this aircraft was even, anyone knew it existed, because it didn't make its first appearance until January 17th of 2000 for Desert Storm. And that's when the F-117A first came out. Other than that, people were probably calling it in as a flying saucer sighting or something because they see this Delta Dart force and they have no idea what it is. But up to that point, we used to do refueling with these at nighttime or in areas where the normal public wouldn't have access to. But that was taken back around 1980 with a regular traditional camera, just to show people what it looks like to see a stealth fighter right up to the backside. And by the way, these aircraft refuel everything. I mean, it could be a C-5A, it could be a C-17, a C-130, an F-16, an A-7. They refuel anything in the Air Force inventory and everything in the Navy, Marine, and NATO inventory, because they use a different operation. They use a drogue to do the refueling because the boom operator doesn't stab them like the Air Force. They fly up to the drogue. It's a basket. So it's a different operation, and it does require us to put a drogue on the end of the boom if we're going to be doing Navy, Marines, or NATO forces.
You know, when I was on the flight, I was talking to one of the operators, and I said, this plane, just by appearance, it's a big plane. It's pretty exposed. I mean, times of war and battle. I asked, are you afraid of being a target because you're the refueling tank? And an interesting answer was, no, not really, because if I go down, they all go down because they need my fuel. So I'm priority one in their minds.
Well, and one of the things you have to remember, and again, this unit was activated during Desert Shield, Desert Storm. I know I went over there for 5 months during that time, and we went over early. We went over in September of 90. And the war didn't kick off until January 17th of 91. But what was interesting is 2 weeks after the war kicked off, we all got to go home because there wasn't anything left for us to do. But to answer your question, normally our refueling treks that we make, our orbits, are in safe areas that are well defended. And you're right. There's an old saying out there among the fighter that we have with the fighter community is you can't kick ass without tanker gas. So if something happens to us, they're in big trouble because they won't have the fuel in order to operate.
They should put that on the tail as a bumper sticker on a plane.
Well, that's afterwards in the club. Those kinds of talks come out, but they just have to put them back in their fighter jocks or something a little bit different. But they recognize that too. If something happens to us, they're lost. They won't be able to get to the target and get home without being refueled.
So, Larry, you have a lot of logos on your shirt there. ESGR.
Yes.
Do you want to talk about that a little bit?
Sure, sure. ESGR is the acronym stands for Employer Support for the Guard and Reserve. This unit has been around since 1972, and it came into being as a result of President Nixon doing away with the draft. Once he did away with the draft, we became more reliant on having the Guard and Reserve to supplement our active duty forces. And a lot of people don't have any idea of just how many Guard and Reservists there actually are, but at any point in time, they vary between 750,000 to 800,000 Guard and Reservists. This is in all 50 states and 4 territories. So National Guard, there's actually 7 units that comprise the that we actually support, that being the 5 reserve units, which everyone is traditionally aware of, that being the Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines, and Coast Guard. It also includes the Army National Guard and Air National Guard, which we have both of in the state. So when you stop and think, 40% of our military force is made up of Guard and Reserve members. So our traditional military force active duty is about 1.4 million. And again, 750,000 to 800,000 Guard and Reserve. So 40% is made up. And these people are ready to go now. They're all certified. They're all qualified. And if they're called upon, they're ready to respond and have done that for many years.
Nice. And how'd you get involved with this, by the way?
I got recruited by a friend of mine here, Darren Venters. He's now down south, but he was in the Air Force also. He was a lieutenant colonel in the Air Force, and he recruited me probably back in around 2014. And of course, when he did that, I got actively involved. And a lot of people don't know, but we do a lot. You know, we advocate not only on behalf of the employers, but service members. I'm an ombudsman, so I actually mediate differences if it comes into what we call a USERRA issue. USERRA stands for Uniformed Services Employment and Reemployment Rights Act, and it comes under Title 38 of the United States Code. And these are mandated requirements for employers and for guardsmen, what they have to do. And if there's any violations, we try to mediate these. We usually are very effective in mediating about 80% of them. What we can't mediate may go to the Department of Labor, be investigated, and ultimately it may be adjudicated if that be the case. But
do these differences happen often, or?
I get probably in a given year, and we have 12 ombudsmen in the state of Arizona. I probably get about 8 or 9 cases.
Oh, wow.
And what's nice is we have an MOU with the Department of Labor. We get first dibs at trying to mediate it, and probably about 75% we're able to mediate. Many of the times it's due to the fact that the employer was not even aware of these federal laws. You know, I can understand it. Yeah. We do a great job when it comes to Americans with Disabilities Act or some of the different federal laws out there. But when people, for the military, there's just a small group of employers that have them, and they're not aware of what USERRA is. So much of it is an education more than anything else.
See that.
And we can resolve those issues.
Hopefully cooler heads will prevail, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So you had quite the eclectic career too yourself. I mean, you're a police officer at one point in time?
Yes, I spent 34 years as a command officer in the Phoenix Police Department. And that's why I was deployed so much I was we were SAC back in the old days. So we were part of the nuclear triad. So we had the black box, and we had 2 lines of alert where we'd go out and do alert for 2 days at a time. So that all changed when the Iron Curtain went down, SAC went away and became Air Mobility Command. But the flight crew included 2 flight crew chiefs that always went with the airplane wherever it went, and I was one of the flight crew chiefs. And prior to that, in the Air Force, I was on C-130, so I was a crew chief and then became a flight engineer on C-130. So I've been around flight crews and been flying around the world for many years. I think I've gone to about 86 countries, so It's been quite a career.
Led many men and women in our uniformed services. So.
Yes.
Tell me about what would be your proudest accomplishment?
Oh, wow. I think just about my proudest accomplishment in my civilian sector or in the military itself.
How about a little bit of both?
Okay. I just had the opportunity to do several things in the military I would have never had the opportunity to do. I think my service in Vietnam, I served there as a combat air crewman on C-130s, doing airdrops, especially in hot areas like Kontum, Anlock, different places like that where they would be sieged by NVA troops and stuff. And these poor Marines, and usually they were Marines or they were Army guys on the ground, you just felt for them, and just to be able to get them the supplies and everything they needed in order to sustain, I think is very accomplishing. I did a lot of things, went a lot of places, saw a lot of things that now have come to fruition. I can remember doing the first flight flying out of Thailand, a place called Utapao, to the middle of the Indian Ocean in 1971. And this little British atoll that was out there was like 40 miles in the shape of a horseshoe from one end to the other, no more than a mile wide at any point. And they had 40 Seabees had just mined a coral runway, and we brought them supplies. And then many, many years later, it kind of clicked in me because the name of that island was Diego Garcia, which is now one of the biggest military outposts in the Indian Ocean that everyone goes into if they go into Iraq or go into Afghanistan. Anyone, it's got nukes. It's got the works on that. It's all military only, but it's now a huge naval facility and Air Force facility. So seeing some of these things and watching bases grow and things, it was just, you didn't realize it at the time. You realize it after the fact.
And like you said, and watching it come to fruition is quite an incredible experience too.
It is. It really is. And I just enjoyed my military career, and I was glad I went back in the Guard. I did that because I missed the camaraderie with flight crews and
fellowship.
Just going. Oh yeah, they're a very tight knit organization, and the Guard is really different than the regular Air Force because the complexities involved in these people. First of all, they're all pretty well self-actualized. These are people that have other careers, and they're not. Their focus is on the mission, and people as something they care about. You don't see the hierarchy that you see in the regular forces and it's hard for people to understand because these people are usually on a first name basis. And it also includes what we call a role reversal, because on the civilian job, I may be the boss, but when I go to the Guard, now the guy who was a police officer for me is a lieutenant colonel. So you see a complete different role reversal. And that's hard for the military to understand. Because they don't see that aspect. They only see rank. And when they don't understand that, they don't understand how people can talk on a first name basis.
Right. So. I found it interesting because it seems like they check their egos at the door and really, like you said, focus on the mission or the task at hand for the good of the cause, basically.
That's correct.
And that's kind of refreshing to know because this day and age where egos run rampant sometimes to the detriment of an organization, that the military can kind of simplify it by saying, hey, here's our mission. Here's what we need to do. You know your job, do your job, basically.
Sure. And another aspect that's kind of interesting is the people that go out in the Guard, they're there for 20 plus years. They don't rotate every 3 years like they do in the active duty forces. So when you go out and you see these pilots talking to crew chiefs and stuff on a first name basis, it's because these guys have worked together for 15, 20 years. It's not rotate every 3 years, and there's no rank structure that's looked upon. The focus is on mission, like you say. And you can be pretty well assured that the Guard and Reserve are probably the first to go in. I know during what we call deny flight, we were one of the first to go to Pisa, Italy, and do the overflights for Sarajevo during the Serb War. We were the first ones over there again, another Guard unit. You'll see that traditionally throughout there because these are people that have the most experience. They have been through a lot. Many of them are veterans of other wars, and they know how to take care of the mission, and they know how to do it.
Good. Larry, you still stay pretty active. I mean, you're not slowing down at all.
No, I'm in my mid-70s now. And
what's next for you? I mean...
Well, I've done a lot of things here, and I don't, I'm always open and receptive to something new. That's what keeps you going. I was a hearing officer for Yavapai County for 10 years. I just recently stepped down from that after 10 years of adjudicating all civil hearings and so forth. So I stay active. Military is one of my loves, though, and one of the things that I always will be actively involved in, and will continue because it's what makes us a free nation. It's our military folks.
Yes, it
They're
does.
the ones that make the difference.
They keep us safe and protected, so we can sleep at night.
And I just want to continue to do several different, not only military outreach, but employer outreach, make sure our employers know, make sure our employers know just the value that they're getting when they hire somebody from the Guard or Reserve, because they're getting much more than your average employee, because they bring another whole aspect to the workplace through their military training.
They bring a sense of discipline, ethics, and a focus that you just don't find nowadays.
Yeah, and one of the things they really bring, and what you don't see, is problem solving.
Yeah.
They understand, and they understand risk. They have a great grasp on risk assessment, and they understand how to solve problems in a manner which is in the best interest of all parties involved.
Yes.
Like we do with ombudsman in our mediating. It's not an issue. You can advocate on behalf of both sides, but you don't have to take sides while you're doing that.
I mean,
or focus on right or wrong.
It's focusing on a problem, not becoming part of the problem.
Basically. Absolutely.
So Larry, any parting comments before we sign off here?
No, one of the things that I actively try to do is, and as you are aware, that your counterpart over in Prescott at their Chamber of Commerce has we have a veterans mixer every quarter. And this is where I get opportunities to meet some of the other individuals in the community and make prospective future flights, So we do that. They have done a job in getting together all the veteran-owned businesses, making a directory. And I'm sure you're doing something very similar.
We have a Veterans Day luncheon, actually.
Yes, I was aware. Yeah. I found out about that after the fact. I made sure I let Patrick Kirkendall know. I was upset that he didn't tell me about that.
Pat was there.
Yeah, I know, but he didn't tell me about it. So.
Next year we'll have that on the list.
Yeah, well, and I appreciate that. But by the way, Patrick does a great job. As far as being an ambassador for the military, you're not going to find a better person in Prescott than Patrick Kirkendall.
He's a good man.
He knows it all, and he's done it. He's an Army ambassador now. He's been in the military. He was in an aviation unit as a senior NCO at the Army National Guard here. So Pat, his dad was. So this isn't just a first generation, because his dad was the head of the 158th here. He was the.
I didn't know that.
Yeah,
really?
He was actually the commander of the 158th up here in Prescott back when they were in the old armory. The one over there off of was it Gurley or yeah.
Oh
yeah. That's when they had that as the old armory. Marlon Kirkendall was the commander there. So, and the job I'm doing right now, Marlon Kirkendall used to do before I came into this. So, and Patrick, I think, did it for a period of time too.
Pat's a good man.
Yeah, he certainly is, and
he's an okay golf player. I can say that.
I don't know what his golf game.
He will watch this recording too.
Yeah, but I'm sure he will. I'm sure he will. But no, if there's ever anyone who wants to get in touch with me, what I suggest people always do is check out ESGR. We have a website. It's esgr.mil. And check it out. And for employers that maybe need some insight on the USERRA laws found in the United States Code Title 38 or the Code of Federal Regulations in Title 20, Chapter 9, if you want to know something, reference your employees to make sure you're doing things right, feel free to reach out to us. We can all be found on the webpage. You can go into the Arizona section. We also have a standing X site and Facebook. You can go to AZESGR if you want to see what we've done. I'm sure there's something on there now for your flight that you took on November 21st.
I need to check that out,
Yeah, it's AZESGR on Facebook. That's the best one to go to because that's the one that's usually populated very well. But feel free to go on there, and I'm always available if somebody wants to reach out to me. Like I say, I'll give you my phone number. It's 602-380-3829 if you want to know anything about ESGR. I'm having a little bit of a difficulty now getting used to our new affiliate because, for so many years we were affiliated with the Department of Defense, and now all of a sudden it's Department of War. So
that's right, it's changing the name.
It means changing a lot of things. And what I encourage employers to do is do a statement of support, where I'll actually bring you a nice statement of support that you can sign and hang in your office saying you support our military. But now with Pete Hegseth's name, it says Secretary of War. It took me the longest time to get a new one with Secretary of War put on there, but now it's actually on there. So I have my new SOSs. We can do that. We have a very, very good awards program. We're always encouraging our Guard and Reservists to put their employers in for awards, Patriotic Supervisor Awards, and we go all the way up to the Freedom Award, which is open right now. It usually opens in October through December. They get 15 per year, and you actually go to the Department of Defense and receive your award from the Secretary of Defense, now Secretary of War, Pete Hegseth, would give you that award. So it's a big deal. And I know I've talked to 3 different individuals. There's at least 2 major firms here in Prescott that will be putting in for the Freedom Award this year. One of them has 3 colonels working for them. Yeah.
Wow. Huh.
YRMC, they actually have 2 full bird colonels and 1 lieutenant colonel.
I think Dr. Witch is a colonel. Ken Witcher?
I don't think Ken Witcher was a colonel, but I'm not positive.
Mm-hmm.
I've talked to him several times, but I do know he was a 20-year military. I don't know what his rank was one way or the other, but it doesn't matter. He's got a PhD.
Yeah, exactly.
he's
the guy in charge.
Yeah, he's the well, and he does an excellent job out at Emory Rowe.
He was our keynote speaker at a veterans luncheon, actually.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he flew Thunderbirds.
Yeah, right. Yeah. And like I say, he's a great individual. I was glad to see him come over. Obviously, Frank Ayers, when he was there, he was an old B-52 pilot, and then
Dan Carroll.
Yeah,
before him.
Yeah. But and like I say, everyone they get out there, but Ken has been very receptive. Like I say, Chancellor Witcher has just been super. I've gone out and visited with him 2 or 3 times, and he went on our flight. So,
did you really?
Yeah, he went on there along with Rich Rodriguez, who's the retired Navy SEAL that runs the Veteran Center there.
Okay.
Rich Rodriguez, I don't know if he came to your, but he probably did, but both of them went up on the flight that you went on probably about a year ago. Wow. Yeah, it was about a year ago they went on.
Thank you for that. It was an amazing experience, and I mean, one I'll cherish the rest of my life. I mean, wow, to be up that close and personal with the crew.
Yeah. Well, and like I tell people, it's something you won't see on the airlines nowadays.
No.
and we give you the free reign of the aircraft. You get to go on the front and sit in the jump seat, talk to the pilot, co-pilot while they're flying. You get to do a lot of things and you get to see something that people never get to see. Unless you're in the military, you will never get to see the kind of things you had the opportunity to see.
It gave me a new appreciation for what the service men and women do.
Especially when you know they're traditional guardsmen.
Yeah.
And that's not their full-time job.
Exactly. Yeah, even more so. Yeah.
And
well, Larry, thank you for joining us today. And folks, thank you for tuning in to PV Talks, where a community comes to converse, connect, and grow together. Continue shopping locally for this holiday season and stay inspired, Prescott Valley. Merry Christmas to all and a Happy New Year.